Talking about Venus and Mars in Virgo. It's a time to elevate your desires and organize your life. Destroy those things that are making you weak rather than destroying your partners. So check this out. Hey, it's Sam, and I'm making this video for the upcoming week of October the 9th. We see here on Monday, actually, as you can see my screen, Venus has gone into Virgo, or it will go into Virgo by the middle of the day on Monday. So Venus in Virgo is going to bring out this sort of criticism, especially of things that we enjoy, things that make us happy, things that we think are fun and that we, want to share with others. Venus is the part of us that has to do with, beauty and happiness and joy. And we find that personally in things that we enjoy, like for instance, physical pleasure that we can experience just on our own, like for instance, just eating food that we like, or, even something like candy or chocolate. That's just for our own benefit. So that would be in the form of some sort of pleasure. But then we want to find a higher level of Venus, a more evolved level of Venus is what we can share with others, like in a relationship and the people that we want to be with, because we sort of multiply our happiness when we can share it with people that we love and care about. That's a higher level of Venus. And then even higher level of Venus is something that's not about us and our pleasure or our emotional happiness, but with something that's like the bliss of the soul, is an even higher vibration of Venus. So these are things that, this is the evolutionary process of Venus. If you have seen my videos before, I talk a lot about this evolutionary process of all the planets and all the signs and houses. Talk about it a lot actually in my book, Yoga and Vedic Astrology, sitting right behind me. No, but this evolutionary process is very important because all the planets have this evolutionary curve through body, mind, spirit, or through the three gunas. So when Venus goes into Virgo, the natural vibration is somewhat low because Venus is not in a very high dignity here, because it's where that desire for happiness and to find happiness in something very high and worthy and universal is brought down into things that are more practical and rational. And so this is where you see the guna of Virgo come into play, because Virgo is a tamasic sign, and it's a sign that's quite worried about all the things that could go wrong. So this serious nature of Virgo as being tamasic is very positive for Mercury, who, as you see, Mercury has been in Virgo, and it's in Virgo and has been for the last few weeks. That serious, somewhat worried nature is good for Mercury, because Mercury is where we can tend to not be serious enough and just want to sort of play and maybe even waste time. But that serious nature, serious rational nature of Virgo elevates Mercury, but it kind of brings Venus down to a level where we can't experience happiness as much as we would like for ourselves. It's harder for us to share it with another person because we find the flaws and the mistakes, and we remember the mistakes they make. We're trying to fix them or edit them or correct things that are wrong with other people. And then, of course, even in a higher level, we might be trying to fix and correct and find all of the flaws in things that are not of this earth, things that aren't rational, like, for instance, religion or beliefs or spirituality or metaphysics. That's why Venus is exalted in Pisces, where we find the things that make us happy are just connected to something very out of this world. And Virgo is very of this world. So for the next couple weeks, we can experience this kind of rational sort of limitation imposed upon Venus areas of life. Now, it can be very positive for some things, and I've seen many times when people have Venus in Virgo, they can actually be quite they actually can have a very refined sense of enjoyment and beauty and pleasure. Many times because the mundane level of it, like the piece of chocolate or the this or the that, doesn't satisfy them. And they realize the sort of mistake and the rationale of that not being such a good way to, find your happiness. So it can help us to elevate and evolve that thing to something higher. But you particularly want to be careful with your relationship partners and other people, because that's the real domain of Venus. It's the domain of compromise with others and navigating relationships where there are two equals. So notice how that could be difficult for the next couple weeks, and try to elevate that. Now, in particular, by the end of this week, as you see, we'll go forward. This is Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you see Mars goes into Virgo and joins Venus. Now, Venus is separating from it because it moves faster, but still having both Mars and Venus in Virgo could bring even more kind of scrutiny and stress to that thing I was just talking about, because Mars is also where we're trying to destroy something that we think is making us weak. When Mars has joined Venus, it's already trying to destroy a certain amount of that relationship compromise, perhaps, that's seen as maybe something making us weak. But then in Virgo, because Venus is already feeling that criticism, Mars could come in and get pretty intense. So again, you want to be careful as Mars goes into Virgo and joins Venus. Again, it starts at the end of this week, but then for a few weeks after. So by, October 14th, 15th, 16th, Mars, Venus in Virgo, which will be there for a couple weeks, will be set up and established. So there's a benefit to these things as well. And as I said, like for instance, Venus in Virgo, it's not just good for maybe elevating mundane desires, but it's also good for things like, for instance, rearranging your house, organizing your environment. And again, it comes from looking at it and going, I'm just sick of looking at this garbage, or I've wanted to, like I'll say for myself, I just moved at the beginning of the year, and there's so much to do when you move that a lot of it just kind of, you do a lot of work, but then you kind of get a little burnt out. I have like some artwork that I bought that I still haven't hung, and certain areas that I still haven't fixed up yet. And it's just kind of sitting there waiting. And I feel it myself the last couple of days, actually, when Mars and Venus came together in Leo. And as they get closer to Virgo, I feel myself now actually quite enthusiastic about, getting this piece of artwork hung up and getting my balcony really organized the way I want to do it, because I have a nice chair out there and I have a nice table. I haven't set it up the way I want to do it, hang certain things, get certain things fixed. So, but the impetus for it, like the catalyst for it, is, again, Venus, which wants to be surrounded by beauty, looking around and noticing all the things that aren't making me happy. So when we express it in its appropriate manner, which is to, let's say, clean the house, or, even, things like, change our diet and things, then it's a better expression. So again, when Mars joins Venus, it's also going to bring a lot of enthusiasm to fix things, straighten things up, purify, destroy those things that are making us weak. Mars loves it. Mars loves destroying something, and he is destroying something. He wants to destroy something. Know this about Mars, and don't act like it's a problem. It's not. That's Mars's job, is to destroy what's not correct. So he's going to be destroying Virgo type things. And with Venus, he's already been very close to Venus and destroying Venus type things related to Leo, which is certain types of interactions that aren't aligned with a higher purpose. Now he's going to go into Virgo with Venus and destroy things that are not, that we don't enjoy because of details in our environment and all that. So notice how you're going to get this kind of resurgence of energy around straightening the house or cleaning the garage or, other kinds of perhaps mundane things. And also things that are more intellectual, because that's a higher level of Virgo as well, is like, fixing and, getting logical, rational thought structures in line. So many times when Mars is in Virgo, the person has a good sense of even things like Vedanta and understanding the nature of truth and wanting to rationally, sensibly, and logically explain things and understand things. Again, this can be difficult in relationships because relationships are not logical, structured, ordered, and all of those things. That's why these are the problems that come. So when you understand the benefit of a sign, planetary placement, then it can help you avoid the problem of it and get the benefit from it. And then turn the hostility and the irritability and the frustration onto yourself. So again, the spiritual benefit of this as well is to destroy your shortcomings and your attachments and your desires that are unworthy. And so we only get frustrated with other people when we project something onto them. Oh, you were supposed to make me happy all the time, and now you're not, and I'm furious, and I want to destroy you, and I'm mad because you didn't do this thing perfectly and all that. This is how that stuff can sort of collapse on itself rather than staying connected to our heart and becoming more disciplined in our habits, routines, and spiritual practices and sadhana. That's the highest quality also of Mars in Virgo. Mars in Virgo, many times people have a strong understanding and awareness of the need to do that, to have spiritual practice and to do it. And again, many times it actually destroys the Venus thing, which is to have pleasure and happiness. So these are big themes this week, especially around the end of the week and then for the next couple of weeks. So we also have Mercury changing signs at the same day that Mars moves into Virgo. Mercury moves into Libra, where it's going to be for the next few weeks, and it joins Jupiter. So Jupiter has been in Libra for a couple of weeks, which is trying to expand our social network, bring more social justice, and also, learn things in our relationships, be more gracious in our, relationships with others. Mercury going there is going to bring more enjoyment, stimulation, intelligence, perhaps compromise. Mercury in Libra is a good placement because Mercury is also an airy planet, and Libra is airy, which is about speech, communication, and again, flexibility. It's a Rajasic planet in a Rajasic sign, and Rajas is about equality and fairness and equal exchange and activity. And so it's going to bring some of that dynamic to that Jupiterian, that Jupiter in Libra, which is about trying to find a big cause or a big social social cause and social movement. Mercury is going to bring more skill, intelligence, flexibility, curiosity to it. So it's good for learning, certainly good for learning subjects like astrology and, any kind of metaphysics, because Mercury is about the details and Jupiter is the bigger picture. So all these things coming together in the domain of Libra is quite important. Obviously, all of these things are specific to your chart as well. Whatever sign Virgo rules from your ascendant, those things are going to be highlighted. Whatever sign Libra falls in from your ascendant, that will also be important to make those things more specific. But important transitional week. And so, the moon goes from Taurus and Gemini in the earlier part of the week, and then it's in Cancer from like the middle of Thursday through much of the weekend, and then pokes its head into Leo by the end of the week. So that's sort of Taurus to Leo, or Taurus through Cancer, Leo energy is going to be important. And this is really the section of the zodiac where we, start to really enjoy things with Taurus and then share them and communicate them in Gemini, and then feel deeply into things with Cancer area of life. And again, we still have Rahu at the very end of Cancer, very close to Leo. So it's this Gandanta point. Saturn is also very much at the end of Scorpio in the Gandanta point. So we might see more watery kind of events, water, hopefully not tragedies, but we might see some of that again this week, particularly around the end of the week on Friday and Saturday. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe another water kind of event, maybe another sort of hurricane or something around the end of the week with Moon in Cancer joined Rahu. We might see it because of that, all those planets in the Gandanta point. You see here, this is Friday at around 6 a.m., 7 a.m. You see Moon Rahu very close. Saturn is right at the very end of, or it's actually early Saturday morning, excuse me. Saturn, last degree of Scorpio, Moon in the last section of Cancer. This is the Gandanta points. Again, Rahu is still at the very end, and Saturn is also aspecting Ketu at the very end of Capricorn. That's why we've seen so much volatile energy with all the watery things flooding, and then the tragic Las Vegas event that happened. I wouldn't be surprised if over the weekend, especially Friday and into Saturday, we see some other kind of unfortunate event. I hate to say that, but especially with the moon hitting that point, also getting very close, especially on Saturday and into Sunday, it's going to cross over the eclipse point where we had it in Leo. But the main reason I wanted to make this is just a heads up, especially with Venus, Mars changing signs, moving into Virgo, Mercury moving into Libra. Saturn, by this time next week, we will have Saturn in the, Saturn will have poked his head into, his head will almost be in Sagittarius. It'll be 2 weeks. Saturn will have gone back into Sagittarius, but we're right at that point where there's so much transitional energy in these Gandanta points. And in the midst of that, we have debilitated Venus for a few weeks, joined by Mars, and then Mercury moving into Libra. So that's the week ahead, and I hope you enjoyed this. Leave me comments and share this with others if you think it will help them.